Hello and welcome to another update to the Human Shader pack. I've done some pretty major intensive work on making this subsurface scattering effect work a little bit better. I've also been working on the eyes as part of the pack. I worked on the EyeShader the last few days to update it so it looks more realistic. It's still got some little issues that I'm going to try and iron out, but let's focus on the subsurface shaders here. So what I've got is a base head that I've created and some maps that help drive it. So you got your SSS color weight, so basically a boosted version of the albedo plus any sort of veins and things that you might get under the surface. I've also got a curvature map in here that helps drive some of the detailing. Got a little fuzz map, that's just the edge has just got some Fresnel and various sliders here for various things. Now the way this works is it uses the directional light mainly to get the information it needs for the subsurface scattering, like behind the ear and things. So you can put the light behind it like that, and then you can work on these sliders. So this is base glow, this is just like everything getting a little bit of subsurface scattering no matter what, and you can bring that down to a point where you feel good. Direct scatter is if the light is directly facing the model. So if I just turn this round to the front and I change the, what was that? Okay, and I change the direct scatter. You can see it's very subtle, but it just sends some light through the front of it, and that's driven partly by the curvature map. So you can see when you change this slider here, you get some little change there, and depending how you drive your curvature yourself, how you've designed your curvature map, you can get different effects. So you can increase the pits, the dark areas, or increase the light areas and see what kind of effect you get. Also got control of the albedo color here if you want to tint it down a little. You've got an extra slider for the smoothness. If it's too shiny or too wet, then you can reduce that down a bit. Let's see, you've got your bump scale for boosting the normal map a little bit more. One's the default. Let's see, we've got, so the fuzz is just the Fresnel at the edge, and that actually kills the gloss as well, so it's like kind of fine hairs type of thing. It's just a subtle thing. Scatter add, which just pushes the subsurface scattering map, which is in the alpha channel of this one. So if you look at how I've done this, it's a boosted version of the albedo plus some extra detailing, and then in the alpha is the weight of basically the thickness map, the weight of how the light penetrates, depending on the thickness of the surface. So that's basically that. I've added in some eyelashes and things, and just to make it look a little bit more complete, and I've been messing with the eye itself. Now I'm going to supply the EyeShader 3 demo eye with this pack now. You won't get all the stuff you get in the EyeShader, but with the Human Shader pack you will get all the EyeShader stuff and the Hair Shader and Hair Shader 2, some HDRP test stuff and all the skin shader stuff. Let's just look at the eye for a second. So the eye's got front glow and back glow now, and some extra shading for the top and bottom of the eye, just for effect really, that is. So if you rotate the light again round to the back, and you think, okay, the eyes are too glowy when the light's behind it, then you can go into the back glow and kill it down a bit. The reason I brought that in is because when there was no light behind it and no light's getting through the head to the back of the eye would look just super dark like that. And if you've got some, you know, scattering on the head, you know, there's no scatter on it, and then you've got some scatter on it, then it just makes the eyes look really dark. So you can adjust that now with a little bit of back glow, just to make it just enough to be seen. You also got the subsurface scattering getting right through to the nose there, so there's a few issues with the actual shader itself, but I'm working on it. And let's just see head. So we got the base glow, we got direct scatter and back scatter. It's probably because that's quite high. Yeah, it's getting right through. And so we've got some scatter and some fuzz. Okay, let's bring the light back round. See, that's looking a bit more uniform now between the front and the back. And if you imagine that's a character in game, it's going to look quite nice. So back to the shader here. So you got the base glow if you want just a little bit more, direct scatter for front on light, and back scatter for back facing light. Okay, that's pretty much it. So I've got my way, that's the subsurface scatter color, and you can also tint that here as well. You can see it kind of tinting there, so it can be used for other things, no problem. And you can also change the weight through this slider. So where I've written the A in brackets, that's just pushing the alpha channel a bit more. There's also the alpha control in this texture. You're in base albedo, plus you can tint the color of that. You know, you can make it blue or whatever, avatar style. Okay, you got the bump map scale. I may add in some micro detail noise in the sort of the next iteration of the shader, which should be more advanced. Once I see the feedback on this, I can make changes and I'll do like another version of the shader. I don't want to break anything. If people are happy with this setup, I'll just make a new iteration of the shader. So that's basically what you have here. The hand also works the same way. If the light's behind it, you can see the subsurface scattering in the fingers there. And just choose that, and you can choose again the base glow, direct scatter. If there's any sort of light hitting it, it gets scattered a little bit. It's hard to see it. A little bit of fuzz again. And if I change the light there and do back scatter, you can see that's more prominent there. Change the weight, change the color. You can reduce it if it's too heavy via this slider, or you can work on it here. Okay, you can change the fuzz color as well if you want that maybe to help it. The alpha slider doesn't do anything. If I've not written the A there, there's nothing happening with the alpha. The base color, well, it actually does nothing. I think it's been overrid by this curvature map that I had to add in, because the base color wasn't really doing anything. But there we go. Let's come back in. I think it kind of gets written into by this one. There's a kind of blend node happening here. So this was written in Amplify Shader. In case you want to edit any of the nodes, feel free. And you got your metal and gloss map, curvature power, metal gloss, and again you can add the smoothness to it if you want kind of wet looking hands, so you just want to stylize it a bit more. Okay, she does look quite oily skinned there, so let's just change the gloss amount down a bit. Make the colour a little bit bluer. You can change these textures however you like. I made them up really quickly just to get this new update out. There's also now better candle shading. These work a little bit different from the previous shader. They're all just driven by their own material. So you got this scatter add. So if you imagine the candle light there, you can actually turn off all the lights in the scene. Oh, in fact, no, they're dependent on this point light here. A little bit based on the color and the distance. So you need to add just a point light. I'm going to duplicate that to make it more obvious. There you go. When that's in range, you see it starts to affect. And these are driven. If I turn off the directional light, you can see how these would look quite nice in the scene. Let's also change the sky to be darker. Sky, this one, inspector. There you go, and you can imagine that's kind of a nice nighttime scene. You can see how when I turn off the directional light, it affects quite a lot of things here. With the eyes, the glow effect is more so affected by a directional light. So if you want to have a darker scene, just be sure to put in a directional light, but just turn the intensity down just enough that you still get control of the eyes and things. Now you might have to change the parameters of your materials based on your scene, just because it's really hard to get desired effects through the shader. You might then have to go into your player's material, like if there's a certain cutscene and you see their face quite often, then you want to change the, let's see, the direct, what is this I'm looking at, the head shader, yeah. Right, back scatter. Oh no, that's the head. I want to look at the eyes. So you want to change the front glow a bit, depending on the situation. There's also, with the eyes, there's control of the caustic effect, so you can change that, the amount of power in that. It can be quite, quite nice for a kind of magical character, but if you're using it as realistic eyes, you want to keep it quite subtle. You can go and change all these as well. All these textures are all changeable. There's so much control with that. So if you rotate the light now, choose that, you can see it's just the scene's just lit based on this here. I'll need to find out a way to kill this effect later in another version of the shader, but otherwise it seems to be kind of alright. So the EyeShader, front glow, you can change this shading power as well, you can reduce that a bit. The back glow. So that's quite nice. It's really hard to get everything working perfect, especially when you've got all these, all these different things driving different parts of the shader in different scenes. So it's really hard to get everything to work in every kind of lighting situation. So you might have to make up various versions of the shader depending on your scene. You can see it's still affected by this light here, so that's quite nice, and you can increase the strength of that. The shader is really based on directional light though. Okay, so with the candle shader, all it is just driving a scatter rad through this scatter map, and you can choose the color that is, and it looks quite waxy. You can change, again, you can change the smoothness amount. It's just a modified version of this shader, and it drives a little bit differently, so you might find that this could be useful for many sort of translucent objects, whereas the other shader is more good for skin. Beetle color there. You can have fun with it, you know, and you can see you get some kind of like crystal looking thing if you increase the shine of it. You can also boost the normal map and you get something quite shiny and crystally looking. You can change that there. And depending how you drive this texture map, you can get different effects. That's me just moving the tiles there to see if there's any other effects you can get obtained from it. You know, that's silly. So you get your base color and your light color. Oh, and power's in the alpha there. I should really put my little A next to that, but that's going to drive the light tone. Let's just bring that smoothness back down. A beetle color back to some kind of white, and then the scatter add strength. Let's see, because the light's so bright now. So take that light away, then let's get that one. Increase the intensity and the range. Back to the candle, change the scatter add, and normal there. Change that there. You can even go into this through a script and move these values. You just go to the shader, so simple candle shader, and all the shaders are in here, and then you get all your things that you can change here. So you got your scatter add, color weight, your power, color power. You can go in and change all these values via script and get some nice things happening. Okay, so I'll put the directional light back on to full. I'm just getting the shadow cast there, that's all that is. I better bring the sky back to normal. And let me just toggle the reflection probe just to get an update from that. Let's decrease. Back to the candle. Decrease the. So again, depending on the situation, if you've got a dark scene, you'll need to change these values to suit your scene. It's not unusual to tweak things to suit a scene, especially if you've got some kind of color palette you want to keep to. Okay, just bring that dark again. Now I can increase that there. Make sure I've got all my settings good. So back to the eye, it looks like I need some back scatter back in there. So back glow just a little bit, just enough to see. And the skin shader, back scatter, I'm just going to reduce that a bit. And just a little bit more base glow. Okay, so that's pretty much what you're getting when you're buying the Human Shader pack. You're getting the eyes and the head, skin, candles. You're getting all the hair shader stuff. Let me just save that. So you get hair shader 1 and hair shader 2. But this is me just really showing off the skin shader. Pretty major update. So if you've got anything that you've created and you want to make sure it all works fine, just let me know if you've got any problems making it work. You will have to adjust things in game to suit your environment. But yeah, hope you enjoy this product, and thanks very much for watching. Bye.